Today's episode is not sponsored by Skillshare or Squarespace. Wanted to do a quick run through on how you can take an image that is underexposed, and in this case, a tungsten balanced film shot in daylight without the yellow warming filter, turn it to black and white, and essentially have a usable image. So we'll jump into Lightroom here. This conversion is straight out of Negative Lab Pro. I made a few different versions with the different profiles, like the Noritsu, Frontier Scanner, Basic, None, and there's not too much difference in these images. And I've gone through, made adjustments, and haven't been able to get this one to look quite right. And there's a couple factors influencing the look of this. Like I said earlier, this is Vision 3 200T, a tungsten balanced film, and I shot it during the day without a warming filter, so Negative Lab is compensating for the cool colors and over warming it. The other thing that's going against this shot is I wasn't shooting directly into the sun, but there's a huge shadow here in the center of the frame. I overexposed a stop to compensate for this, but I really should have overexposed 2 stops, maybe even 3 stops to get enough light in here for a color shot. Obviously we didn't get that, so how can we save this? So I ran this through Negative Lab, but this time ran it as a black and white, and surprisingly there is a lot more information here that's usable. It's a little gritty because this is shadow area that didn't get enough light, but honestly, it's not that bad. And this is a conversion straight out of Negative Lab. There's no adjustments to this yet. It looks pretty nice. And so honestly, at this point, I would just send this to Photoshop. So we'll just run through this real quick. So what I normally do, so I don't select the border, is select the quick selection tool. If you don't have this one selected, if you right click, you can jump to the quick selection tool and just drag this on the outside of the border so the film border isn't selected. What this will do is allow us to only make adjustments to the image and leave the film border alone. Once we get the marching ants around the film border, we can jump into camera raw filter. I like to start at curves, then just do some basic adjustments. This one here will push up the darks. So we'll just push this up here, get a little bit more detail in the shadows, and slide the shadows slider down a little bit to darken the blacks. Whoa, we don't need to add that much light. Generally, I'm not using or adding too much light to these pictures, but a little bit can kind of add a nice, just make the highlights a little punchier, make the image grab your attention more. And then we'll jump up to the light panel. Maybe add just a touch of exposure here. Nothing too crazy. Add a little contrast. Just push up those highlights a little bit. Open up the shadows a little bit. Same with the whites. Add just a touch. Add little blacks. And then jump down to the effects panel. This doesn't really need any texture or clarity. Texture is kind of a refined version of clarity, so I may actually do, oops, no, I don't want 34, that's way too much. 3 is good. I'm not going to add clarity on this one. And a little dehaze that kind of helps to separate the blacks a little bit. That looks good. Jump down to detail. Add a little sharpening. 15 is kind of my default, unless it really needs more. And we can zoom in and see how much that added here. So it's adding just a little bit, nothing crazy. Just kind of cleaning things up a bit. This is our, oops, whoa. This is already pretty gritty from underexposing, so. Anyway, that's about it. Well, normally I would save this here and send back to Lightroom, but I've already made an edit. So we'll jump back in here to Lightroom. This is one I did earlier. We'll do it before and after here in just a second. So you can see this, but opened up the shadow areas. There's plenty of detail to make this a usable image. And overall, it looks nice. Did a little bit of Photoshop to remove the light post that was here, and there was like, I'm not sure what that was, a sign for the Utah Olympic Park that's back behind this Porsche. I did try to remove this person here, but I couldn't get him removed to where it looked clean, so I just left it. And yeah, this looks good here. Just for kicks. Here's the original image. Here's our edited black and white. Here's the before and after. This is the before, and it's easy to tell because we got the light post. And honestly, there wasn't a ton really added here. Just kind of brightened everything up a little bit. Made it look like the light was reflecting off these rims. Here's our before, here's our after. I've messed around with this a fair amount and haven't got it to come out quite how I'd like it to from my taste, but this here is definitely usable, and I'll be using it for a short. That's all I've got for this video. We'll see you guys in the next one.